father's house after he died, I found a sign that absolutely crushed me. It was a sign that said something to the effect of disabled vet needs help. And I just sat there, imagining him on the street, holding that sign, and all the pride he had to set aside in order to go out there and ask for help in such a vulnerable way. And it crushes me because I had the ability to help him. Our relationship was super complicated. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and what that did is it created a lot of anger and violence in our lives. And there were 25 years where I didn't talk to him because it didn't feel safe. And so when I reconnected with him, there was a point that he asked to borrow some money. And his living situation was quite a bit different than mine. He did have a house, he did have food, and he had people around him. So overall, things were, he had the basic needs, and it just wasn't exactly what I would have considered a perfect lifestyle. But when he asked me for money, and then again, I realized that I didn't want our relationship to be about money. I wanted to build a connection with him, build a relationship with him based on our love for each other, based on him being my father and me being his daughter. And I felt like the money complicated things. And my tendency is to be a caregiver. So for me to not jump in and try to help him was a totally different way of being for me. But what I saw is the way he spent money, drugs, prostitutes, and cigarettes and other things like that, didn't really align with my values. And so I looked into the future and I saw resentment. If I were to give him money and he would use it for things that I didn't necessarily agree with, I felt like it might divide us. And so I didn't give him money. And I didn't help him. Yet I did tell him that if he ever needed food, that I'd be more than happy to send it his way. Even knowing that indirectly supporting his food would allow him to use his money in other ways. But that felt okay with me. That was the boundary I was okay with. He never asked. I offered at different times based on hunches I had of how he might be. Sometimes he'd go into the hospital because of his diabetes being out of whack, and those were always the times that I wanted to help with food. And he never accepted it. Maybe he didn't feel like my offer was genuine. Maybe he felt ashamed. I don't know. But what I do know is that he stood on the side of the streets asking other people for help. And I think about all the people that drove by him and not giving it to him, and all the people I've driven by. Some I've helped and many I've just looked away from. And that's hard because that's real. Those are choices I've made. And I don't think I need to live with regret or guilt or anything, but clearly there's something there because it doesn't feel great. And sharing this with you is important to me because I think we can all look at everyone in a different way. So if you are driving by somebody and they're asking for help, maybe you'll think about it in a different way. And I get it, it's complicated. People don't want to give their money to things that aren't aligned with they're thinking some people are scammers, but most had to really eat their pride and put themselves out there and be vulnerable. And how lucky am I that that's not what I have to do? How blessed am I to have enough food and shelter and all of that? So I share this in hopes that it makes you reflect on your choices. And then also, I do want to support boundaries, because I did have a healthy relationship with my dad, and I did get to experience just great love with him in the last years of his life because I had those boundaries. And I share this just because boundaries don't always make things easier, and inherently boundaries are hard because the reason you have to create them is because something's not working and you have to really stand up for yourself, and the other person maybe doesn't know what you want or need, or maybe is asking for too much. But we use boundaries to show people how to be with us, right? It's a way we can teach people how to be with us. So I don't regret having the boundaries, and it also isn't easy to set boundaries because of I mean, this is the perfect story, and each of you have your own story about people in your lives and how much you're willing to give and how much you can give. And I just really encourage each of you to be true to yourself. As much as this hurts, finding that sign, I also have so many days and so many hours with him that were just absolute treasures as well, because we had those healthy boundaries that didn't let me develop resentment or judgment or any of that stuff. So please, please, please let me know if I can help you with any questions you have about boundaries or even this situation. I'm sharing this in hopes that it does help other people. And I built a worksheet, so if you want that, just go to my website. But all of that's secondary. It's more the message that I want you to hear and support you in your journey. So thank you, and I will now play that little video, or you can find it in my shorts too, the real-time moment of when I did find that sign. It was pretty tender, and you'll see that it was. Thank you for being here with me, and there'll be more to come. Imagine finding this in your dad's closet. Somebody that I haven't been in touch with for my whole life, and just imagining him out on the streets using this sign. And that's super hard. I'm so grateful that I did reconnect with him, but just like knowing that he was out there, and the pride and the shame and all of that had to have come with this. So next time you see somebody, give them a smile at least, because he's somebody's son, brother, maybe even father. But this one has been heartbreaking. So lots of things to process, lots of things to discover, and just so grateful for him and that I did get to reconnect with him. That's all.